your captain speaking. It's been a little while since we've taken our next flight in our tour of the U.S., and today we are going to be going from Buffalo to Detroit. And we've got the Beechcraft King Air, or Beech Baron King Air, which I can't remember which one it is. That's the King Air. And, just one of the stock aircraft here in FSX. Haven't flown this one in a while, and actually haven't flown many of the aircraft in quite a while. Things have been kind of busy on my end, and been kind of anchoring to, want to do one of these flights and get another video uploaded, and just to provide some entertainment, give you some thoughts, give you some updates on some things, and just in general, just have some fun. I mean, that's what it's all about when it comes down to it. It's just all about having fun. And, just a lot of things been getting kind of busy with me. I don't know if I had mentioned this in a previous video, but I am still recovering from back surgery that I had about 3 months ago. So, there's been some complications and, setbacks and things like that. But, so far making progress day by day. Some days are good, some days are bad, and, trying to get back into the flow of work. And, that's, kind of the reason why I haven't had a video up in quite a while. So hopefully this is going to be a fun flight, and, haven't done this flight, and we'll see how it goes. We've got some nice clear weather, and we're going to be going out of the Buffalo Niagara Airport, and we're going to be going into Detroit. I can bring that up for you over here. And we're going to just do a simple VOR navigation. Again, I tend to enjoy this a little bit more than having to deal with the ATC, at least when it comes to these smaller aircraft like this. If I was going with some of the larger aircraft, having the ATC there with getting things lined up is usually a little bit more helpful. But it is nice to not have them continually chiming in and bugging you at every instant to switch stuff. So that is an advantage there. So I've got this up on SkyVector. I've got everything already mapped out here. And, rather than just taking a direct route, I mean, we are going to be flying over Lake Erie and around Lake Erie. So I figured we might as well see if there's any, sites that we can take in while we're doing this flight. We're going to probably cruise between 10 and 12,000 flight level. 10,000 feet, 12,000 feet, right in there. Flight level 1, 2, 0, if we're going to be, technical about it. And we're going to use these three VOR navigations stations. So we're going to come right out of here from Buffalo, and we'll head a little bit southwest. Okay, it's about a 48 nautical mile trip. Then we're going to head up right across the lake, and then we'll go parallel to the lake. And then somewhere down in this area over here is when we'll be able to get into radio contact with the tower over here in Detroit, and start getting our landing clearances. And hopefully we don't have any incidents. Of course, many of you know the default ATC on FSX can sometimes be a little bit of a pain, as you've seen in some of my previous videos. But hey, that's what makes it interesting, and that makes it fun, the unknown. So we're going to be coming out of Buffalo Niagara International Airport right over here. So we've got two main runways that we have available to us, and we'll zoom in on that. Okay, so we have runway 23 and runway 5 and runway 32 and runway 14. So 7,000 and 88, 9,000 feet almost there. So we'll see what they which one they want us to use. And then we're coming into the Detroit Metropolitan Wayne County Airport, a rather large airport. It is Class B airspace, so we've got quite a bit of runways. Most of them are running all parallel to each other, so that would be, we'll be coming in on probably one of those. But again, we'll find that out as we get closer, and then we'll pull the charts up and kind of get our bearings from there. And I've already got the frequencies written down, as well as the general headings to do our navigation. So let's get back over here into FSX, and we'll get into our cockpit here. And the first thing that we're going to do is get the batteries turned on, and that's going to let us tune into the weather control here.
Buffalo Airport information, 1632 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility greater than 20 miles. Sky conditions. No clouds below 20,000. Temperatures 14. Dew point 4. Altimeter 2992. ILS runway 5 to use. Landing and departing runway 5. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back with short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact you at Alpha. Buffalo Airport.
Okay. All right, so looks like we're coming out of runway 5. And I'm going to go ahead and get some radio stacks tuned in. So our first VOR is going to be at 114.7. Yep, so there we go. Now we can already pick that up. And that is actually the correct one. It is the JHW, so we are good there. And the next one is going to be at 114.2. Okay. I don't think there's a way to do a switch on these, but at least it's there. Okay. And so we got that set up. So that is good. And we'll take care of the heading component here. Most likely we're coming off of runway 5. I'm guessing, because that's what they said there. So we'll worry about that. And let's go ahead and tune to ground, and we'll request to depart straight out. Just or we'll just do remain in pattern.
Buffalo ground, Beach Kilo Juliet 7881. Request taxi for touch and go with Alpha. Beach Kilo Juliet 7881. Taxi 2 and hold short of runway 5 using taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 120.5 when ready. Taxi 2 and hold short runway 5 using taxiway Alpha. Beach 881.
Okay. All right. So get those things turned on, and we'll turn the progressive taxi on just because. And let's see. Yep. So I think we're all good for our pushback. So we'll release the parking brakes. We'll get our pushback. Ooh, we get the little truck. Now, it's important when you're coming out of this and you're just doing it, you're not filing an actual flight plan, to make sure that after takeoff you go back and cancel landing intention, because they apparently think you're going to just do a circle and land. So I always forget to do that sometimes, and then they're all like pissed off at you, like, did you copy, and then they're like, fine, screw you, whatever. Okay, we got the navigation lights on, beacon lights on, and that should be good there. Okay, and we will let him get out of the way. And we'll go ahead and just double check our lighting systems here. I'll turn the taxi on, even though the default aircraft don't have that. Worry about the strobes. We don't need those right now. We'll get to those when we get to takeoff, as well as the landing lights. And let's fire this puppy up. And there goes the first propeller, and soon we'll have the second one go. Let things kind of stabilize there. Okay. That is a good sign. Everything on the instrumentation panel looks like we're doing fine there. Okay, we'll climb to 5,000 feet, and then as we get things set up, we'll go from there. Yeah, I think we are good to go. So, let's start our taxi. And we'll get into talking about some current news in gaming, some actual big news, and give you my thoughts and opinions on it. But we'll worry about that once we get up to our cruising altitude. We'll get through all of the checklist stuff here. Well, it doesn't look like it's a very busy day here at the airport, but that's okay. Means we probably won't have to do any waiting, either for aircraft coming in on a landing or for other aircraft in front of us. Although I suspect that that's going to change when we get to towards Detroit. The air traffic will pick up, and hopefully we can get a nice landing without having to worry about a go-around and the wave-off and all that wonderful stuff that sometimes happens, or having a plane almost crash into us, as happened in one of my previous videos, that just like literally swooped in out of nowhere. But a simple little taxi right through here, and we'll check things like flaps and pitch trim and all that stuff before we contact the tower, because we want to make sure that before we contact the tower we're like, hey, yeah, we're good to go. There's a nice short little taxi. I like that. And I don't think we're in much of a rush, considering that there's no other aircraft that I can see in sight that are wanting to land or take off, so we can be a little bit patient with our time. Okay, so we will hit the brakes. That's not what I want. Nope, nope, nope. There's our pitch trim. There we go. That's good. We will put our flaps down. And we will contact the tower and request for
Buffalo
takeoff.
Tower, Beach, Kilo, Juliet 7881 at runway 5, ready for takeoff, touch and go.
Beach, Kilo, Juliet 7881, cleared for takeoff. Runway 5 to touch and go. Less traffic. Approved.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 5, Beach 881.
Okay, here we go. Get ourselves lined up here. And everything is looking good. So let's get this bird in the air. Start our rotate. Positive rate of climb. We'll cancel our landing
Buffalo
intentions.
Tower, Beach 881, cancel landing intention.
Beach 881, your cancellation is received.
Okay. There we go. And we'll change so they said left traffic, so we'll go ahead and we'll start making a 90-degree turn. There we are. And of course, that's the direction we want to go, but beautiful day though. I still am, you know, for as old as this, you know, game or simulator, whatever you want to call it, is, it still is a really amazingly detailed game when you think about it. You know, what was this, 2009-ish, I think, is when it really kind of came out. You know, somewhere in there. And one of these days I'm going to do a tutorial on the, I'm learning it right now on the FA-18, and maybe we'll do one of our Tour of the USAs in the FA-18. That'll be a fun, quick flight. So you can see that's where we took off from right here. And just going to pass the airport. And we should be out of their, above their airspace. Let's just see. 47. So yeah, so we're out of that Class C airspace, so we should be fine to go ahead and start changing that. Okay, so what we're gonna do, there's a couple things. We're going to increase our altitude to about 10,000 or so. And we're going to change this over to navigation, and we'll follow the, we should put our flaps up. There we go. And we'll follow the ice on too. It is middle of November, and we'll start following that VOR station. You know what? Oh, okay, it came through those clouds there. Get into tune. I kind of want to be above the cloud level since I'm not doing a like a flight following right now. we've got the 2 flag, so we are heading there, and we can see that we are decreasing our distance from there. So the next thing I want to do is, I know that when I approach here, I just kind of like to set things up ahead of time, and what we're going to do is, once we get to the VOR, the JHW, pull this back up. So once we get down to here, we're going to want to head off on a radial of 299. And so when I'm within like 1 or 2 nautical miles, I'll switch my heading bug over while I get my radio tuned in. Because we are 84 nautical miles, we may not necessarily pick that up. I don't know what the range is of that particular VOR station. So that's something to consider. So what I do is I come into here and set this. So 299 is right about there, give or take. Looks like we're doing some windage here. And once we flip the eclipse to 10,000, we'll turn the landing lights off. And there we go. There's Lake Erie. And just bring up so you can see where we're at right here. So we took off a little bit to the northwest, left turn, came around, and now we're heading down to our first VOR station, and then we'll cut back across Lake Erie. But there it is. There's Lake Erie for you. And we'll stay going. Turn those off. Keep the strobes and stuff on. I mean, it just adds another layer of, hey, we're here, please don't hit us type thing. And I think what we'll do is we'll just go up just a little bit more, up to 12,000. That was my initial planned altitude for this flight. And we're 37 nautical miles out. So things are going well. So yeah, so there's been a lot going on, like I said, in my own life. Like I said, I just had back surgery, and back in the end of July, and so I'm a little over 3 months out now, and it's been an adventure, and part of that has been getting back to work. And slowly returning there. And of course, when you're out of work and then you go back to work, there's adjustment periods, there's catching up with things, there's just so many things that are involved with that, which is why I haven't really had the time to do one of these videos. I do want to start up another series, not with FSX, but with Star Trek Online, another game that I like to play on the PC. And kind of go through it, and also use it kind of as a see if anybody's interested in, if they haven't played it, maybe playing it. I do find great enjoyment out of it, and joining our fleet. I am a leader in the fleet, so I can get you into our fleet and get you promoted relatively soon, so that you can access some of the fleet store items and things like that. So stay tuned for those videos. They'll be coming shortly. And but yeah, so some big stuff been going on in the gaming community, unless you've been buried under a rock somewhere, and that has to deal with Star Wars Battlefront 2, and just, oh my goodness. And yeah, so to be honest, I did not buy the first Star Wars Battlefront. I am a huge Star Wars fan. I was big back in the 90s on things like TIE Fighter and X-Wing and some of the RPG and sort of 4X type strategies like Empire at War and stuff like that. So I do like the Star Wars genre. Never got too big into the FP, like the Battlefront games. I played some of them back in college, when they were on like the Xbox and stuff like that. So my friends had it, and it was fun. And they had, EA and DICE had, gotten the rights from Disney and Lucas, and they made the first, brought the Star Wars Battlefront back. And the only way that I have played that is I do have EA access on my Xbox, and so I did the trial on the first Battlefront, and then I was like, not too much. I'm not super big into first persons anymore. The last big ones I think that I was in was really maybe Black Ops 2, and with as far as the competitive multiplayer goes. I used to be really big back when it was like Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, and like huge into those. Didn't like the futuristic stuff. Pretty big zombies player with the Treyarch iterations of zombies. Big time on that. And so I've played some of the Battlefront, the first one that EA and DICE came up with, and from a game standpoint, like graphics, oh my goodness, just unreal. The sound, all those things, just fantastic. Solid combat, but it was always one of that. It was a game that just felt like it was lacking. There was no true single player campaign. There's so much potential for it, and so yeah, I have it on EA Access, and if I've played it a little bit, and and I have no problem with the subscription service. I do enjoy it. It lets me try some games I wouldn't otherwise try. Been playing. I used to be a big NBA 2K person, and I'm just done with it because of the way that they're treating the customers and the way progression's been working with things like the microtransactions now, and the fact that your player is also what you use to compete online with, unless you're doing like a full team event or something like that. And so there is a pay to win element in there. And the way that they've done the microtransactions, and I don't know if there's been any updates in the new 2K18, but like you go and you buy a haircut, you don't get to keep the haircut. You'd have to, if you want to change it, you lose that haircut, you have to rebuy it again, and the amount of credits you were earning, your VC, really technical virtual currency, wasn't that big of a deal. You weren't getting that much. The previous iterations, I didn't feel like it was as much of a grind, that I didn't have to spend as much, that like a huge amount of money to get my player to a decent rating and all of that stuff. And I don't mind microtransactions when, first of all, it's not chance-based. I don't like chance-based stuff. And two, when I don't feel it's necessary, but I do it because I'd like to. I've gotten a lot out of the game, and I want to support the developers, and do it that way. Grand Theft Auto, again. Now, I do have some problems with the GTA system. Although, again, it's not chance-based. If you buy a shark card, you're taking real-world money and turning it into currency in the game that you can then use to buy whatever you want. Cars, planes, buildings, whatever. And so that part's nice because you have more control as a player. What I don't like about GTA is the balance part of it between what a shark card, you pay for a shark card, and what you can then buy with it. It doesn't translate. So, a new, they quote, expansion comes out, and yeah, you can earn the money in the game, which will take you a little while. But if you wanted to take full advantage of it, it's going to cost you, $3 to $5 million, and a $50 shark card is $3.5 million, and it just seems like that's a lot. I wish it was either the cost of the items was brought down, or what you got for a shark card was brought up. I mean, if I spent $50 and I got 10 million for $50, I'd be a happy camper. Because you can do a lot with that amount of money. You can't do much with, 1.25 or 3.5 or any of that stuff. So those models I don't mind. I also, when it comes to loot crates or chance crates, things like that, if you're doing cosmetic, fine. I don't care what my character looks like. Don't care about it. This is why, games like, I was a huge FIFA player and FIFA Ultimate Team player, and I'm done with it. I'm just not gonna. It's all chance. If you want to play Ultimate Team, you either have to grind incessantly, or your skill has to outplay what some of these players have. Granted, there are other ways to earn coins, and there's a transfer market and stuff like that. I'd almost rather that you're able to buy currency, but I know that would change the market, and that's a whole separate issue. But then we have Star Wars Battlefront 2, and when the game first was announced and I saw it, I was actually pretty excited, and actually think that because I do like the Star Wars universe and things like that. Ooh, we got to make a change here. So we're going to change our heading before I forget that, and tune our radio stack. And that is the correct. Okay, good. Well, that worked out fine. Let's hit the next radio comm stack in here. 113. Then I'll pick back up on Battlefront 113.8. And we can turn this back onto nav. And the heading that we're going to want to go on for that one is 261. So that's about, it's somewhere around there. But we got a long ways to go for that one. So, anyways. And heading there looks good. And that's going to take us back over again. So we came down. This is that VR. Now we're going to head back straight across Lake Erie. Okay, so here we are right down here. We're going to go straight across Lake Erie, and then we'll start heading towards Detroit. So, okay. There we go. Okay. So I was really excited. I mean, they were going to put a new campaign. They're going to put a single-player campaign in, which I think all FPS shooters should have. I mean, they have the rights with Disney, and so, I mean, they were making it canonical, so it was, before and after the destruction of the second Death Star. I mean, you've got the view of an empire. All right, hold on. I gotta turn. I don't even know what channel that is, but I don't want to hear people. We don't need to hear that airport anymore. And then, of course, they said, oh, well, they're going to get rid of season passes and map packs and all that stuff because they don't want to divide the player base, which, granted, was an issue. I mean, that's been the structure the whole time. And then they replace it with the loot boxes. And everything is now complete RNG. And you don't know what you're going to get. And it's not just cosmetic stuff. It is the star cards and weapons and credits. And initially it was going to be that duplicate star cards gave you crafting parts, which you could then use to upgrade existing star cards. But then they changed that to now it gives you credits to then buy more loot crates to that. That's because loot crates are the only way you can get crafting parts to upgrade star cards. And the amount initially, again in the beta and stuff like that, initially the amount of credits that you earned per match was based on the length of the match. So it didn't matter on your performance, and the amount of credits you were getting was like between 200 and 300 credits, and a crate cost you 4,000 credits, like the top tiered crate. And so you can do the math at 10 minutes a match or so on and so forth. And yes, there were milestones and achievements that you could do throughout that, you know, I mean, maybe it's stuff like get this many headshots and you get a bonus of credit amounts, but those aren't repeatable types of things. So when you exhaust these other hidden, you know, achievement rewards, now you're locked into a system where you're earning a minimal amount of credits, and the only way to progress your character is through the loot boxes. And, you know, they said that it's, oh, well, we'll change it to no more legendary cards or epic or whatever the highest tier was that will be in there. You have to craft those, and you can't craft those to reach a certain level in game. But what they fail to tell you is that you can get, so each star card has 4 tiers. You could get a level 3 tiered card out of the loot box and still equip it as a level 1 or 2 character, depending on how many star cards you had, because that's what determined the rank of your class, not the rank of your overall player. And so it's complete pay to win, completely. And I mean, I understand that, okay, yes, we're going to be getting DLC in the form of new maps and stuff like that. That's not going to cost you money like it did before, and they want to make up the revenue some other way. I mean, the amount of money that they've been making off of things like Ultimate Teams, between like Maddens and FIFAs and even NHL or whatever, has been in the hundreds of millions, if not, I think, over $1 billion just in that alone. So microtransactions are a massive part of EA's income. And now they're trying to make it even more so, and they're planning on that because it's Star Wars, because it's a licensed Star Wars product, that people will just go in and they will blindly buy it, and they will spend the money, and they're going to make a mass killing on it. And, you know, of course, if you've been following along, especially within this, I mean, it releases tonight, officially for everybody, you know, Friday morning or whatever. I mean, over this past week, there's been just huge community backlash. And you know, they had the AMA, they had the most downvoted Reddit score, they had backtracks on things where, I mean, heroes were costing an insane amount of credits, and then they slashed those. And here's my whole problem is, you probably had some people, because of early access, okay, if you have EA access or Origin access, depending on if you're Xbox or PC, or if you ordered one of the deluxe editions, you're able to get start playing the game ahead of time. They went ahead and they slashed the prices of like Vader and Luke and all the heroes by 75%. Well, what happens to the poor player that maybe saved up and bought one of these heroes, and then literally a day later it's slashed by 75%? Okay, you're going from 60,000 credits, okay, you know, at 4,000 a loot box. I mean, you can do the math. That's a lot of loot boxes that you could have opened to get star cards, down to 15,000. So you just wasted, you know, 45,000 credits because EA realized they screwed up on that. There's been no mention, and I don't know if they have or if they can, but give a refund to those players and say, oh, here's your 45,000 credits back because you bought Vader, you bought Luke. And that just really stinks, in my opinion. And, you know, I could understand, you know, later on down the line slashing the prices as the game ages, or you're going to introduce new characters and you reduce the old characters. But before right at the launch time, you slash it when people have probably already paid that, that's not right, you know. And if I was one of those players that spent, you know, 15, 20, 30, whatever thousands of credits on a hero class, a hero character, only to find out they slash it immediately, that would really irritate. That would tick me off, you know. And now I just pulled this up. We got some time, and I don't see any aircraft, so I don't think we're hitting anybody. But I pulled this up, and take a look. There it is, right here. Hours before launch, Star Wars Battlefront 2 drops microtransactions temporarily. Oh my goodness. So you have people that have probably already paid money, and now they're like removing it because the whole system is completely broken. This, and it's, again, this, please people, it is temporarily. That is so the key word here. Temporarily. It will be implemented. It will be coming back. I don't know how, but that's still going to be a problem. And granted, I know that EA, first of all, DICE got screwed in this. They're the ones that put together the game. They are the developers, not the publishers. So I can pretty much guarantee this is not how they had things envisioned. They didn't want loot boxes. They didn't want loot boxes tied to progression. They didn't want all these things. But EA, in their greed, said, no, you're doing this, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. And the problem is people forget to separate EA and DICE, and the developers from the publishers. The publishers are the ones that are making all these decisions on how to monetize the game to maximize their profits. That's all they care about. They don't care about the gamer. They say they do, they don't. Okay? All they care about is how can we change the previous models to get even more money and more money and more money for things that are eventually reskins. And I've heard, you know, even the campaign is very weak in its story writing. There's still quite a lot of bugs in it. It's a short campaign, 4 to 5 hours. Yeah, you know, so you're basically, okay, you're done with that, and then you just have multiplayer left. Okay. You know, this is a problem. And yeah, there are going to be people that are going to continue to buy this stuff, but until we as gamers speak with our wallets, use our voice in a responsible and respectful manner, things like this are not going to change. And I know I wouldn't have a problem with the loot box thing if it was cosmetic, but I also understand that EA and DICE are bound by what Disney and LucasArts will allow them to include as cosmetic, so as not to alter the Star Wars, you know, universe and the environment on things. I mean, we don't want pink stormtroopers running around, okay, you know, decorated in glitter and whatever. I get that. And so any cosmetic things have to be approved by Disney and Lucas before they could implement them in the game. So I understand they're very limited on that, unlike a game like Overwatch where you can do whatever they want cosmetically, you know. So I totally understand that. But you know, there's something's got to change here, because I do agree it is gambling. Whether they say it's not, it is stimulating the same areas, you know, in the brain, with that addiction component. And this game is being marketed towards young people. Okay, you know, I'm in my late 30s. All right, I'm a responsible adult. I understand how to manage money and how to try and avoid addictive practices and things like that. Younger kids don't know that, and you're going to have your, you know, 8 to, you know, 16, 17, 18-year-olds getting addicted to this gambling thing, and an item that they really want they can't get because it's locked behind a loot box, of which they don't even know what the drop rate is of said item. And you have person A that may get it on the first pull, person B gets it on their 20th pull, and so you either have the amount of time to get to that, many loot boxes, again with the amount of credits they're giving and what the costs of the boxes are and all this stuff, or you have to drop real world money. So, and now you already have people that have probably dropped real world money, so they already have an advantage going into the game. Now they've removed microtransactions, which I have no idea what that looks like. I'm almost tempted to. I deleted my Battlefront 2 early trial that I get from my 10-hour trial. I'm kind of tempted to re-download it to see what the heck has actually changed. Do you still? They say they remove microtransactions, but does that mean everything's still loot crate based? So I'm just kind of curious as to how that actually looks now. But you got to be respectful as a gamer, and I know that when they had the AMA, I mean, I wasn't on there, but I heard from other YouTubers and stuff like that, and articles. Some of the comments were downright nasty. I mean, there's been issues of people issuing, death threats to the developers and EA and this kind of thing. And no, I mean, if you want we as gamers already in this generation, and current generation and my generation, it gives us a bad rap. We're upset at EA because of what they're doing. Why can't we rise above them and take the high road on it and say, you know what, this is what's wrong with your game, here's why, and we're not going to buy it unless you address and fix these issues. And then just let it flop, because if you are respectful and you speak with your wallet, then companies like EA will have to make a change. I mean, they spent, I don't even know how much, but they must have spent a ton of money to get the rights to Star Wars. There's no doubt. And so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to recoup all of that and then some. Okay? And if you go ahead and you say, you know what, we're not going to buy your game because we don't like this practice, and then their sales flop, that sends a stronger message than any hateful things you could say to them, which isn't a morally or ethically correct thing to do regardless anyways. But man, your actions speak louder than your words do. They always will. And at least on the surface, they're realizing that they have this whole thing completely wrong. And again, key word, I will say it again, is it's temporary. Temporarily, they will be coming back. I don't know what that's going to look like, but in my opinion, this is a no-buy until we get more information on how it's going to be. Because I don't want to spend $60 to support a developer that can't even figure out how to do their game model. Okay, because you were having a mobile business model thrown into a full-price AAA game, and that's where the problem was. Okay, all games nowadays are doing some form of microtransactions. I get that, but you cannot have full pay-to-win in a full AAA $60 price tag. You can't do it. It's wrong, in my opinion. And some of these mobile games, I mean, what is it? Some of these mobile games are making a killing because of their free-to-play model, and people just go and spend money and money and money and money. Okay, and then they're like, hey, let's nick that and throw it into this. Plus, we get the $60 bonus on top of it because people have to pay the premium price on it. And so we'll just make a killing on it. And then, oh, it's Star Wars, so people will just buy Star Wars because it's Star Wars. No. You know, if this was any other franchise, I think the game would have definitely flopped. I mean, we'll see what it'll look like over the next couple of days. You know, when we start hearing some of the reports, it'll also be interesting to see. I mean, we've already seen that the stock prices for EA have dropped in you know, wake of all this controversy leading up to the launch here. People are selling the stock because they're like, you know what? People are probably actually not going to buy this game, and the company's going to lose a bunch of money. And you know, if that's the case, then finally, gamers, you spoke up and you started, you know, speaking with your wallet. So, my advice is wait on Star Wars Battlefront 2 until we get more information. I mean, if you have EA access or something and you want to play it just to, you know, for the campaign or something like that, yeah, obviously go ahead and do that. You already signed up for this subscription service. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. But I would be very wary about dropping $60 on this game right now in its current state. Until we get more information on what their business model is going to be going forward. You know, and it's a shame for poor DICE because the game looks fantastic. It looks like it sounds fantastic. It's Star Wars through and through. But unfortunately, greedy publishers have, you know, dismantled it. You know, that's why, like, you know, like I say, I was a big FIFA player. I didn't buy this year's iteration of FIFA. And even last year's, you know, I did some fun, and I got some decent teams after time. I'm an above average, you know, FIFA player because I've been playing it for years, so I can take a mediocre team and still compete with, you know, a team of, you know, Ronaldos and Messis. But that was starting to get not fun for me, and I went to seasons where I can play as like Real Madrid and stuff like that, and actually get to play with the players like Ronaldo or Messi or, you know, Bale or Rooney or whoever I want, whichever team I want to play with, and it levels the playing field that way. And you don't have to pay it other than the cost of the game. There's no microtransactions in like seasons mode or career mode or any of those things. It's all tied into FUT or MUT if you're playing a Madden game. So, you know, it's just not a game for me anymore. You know, not to mention, I played some of the FIFA 18 trial on my EA Access. I wasn't impressed with the gameplay anyways. I think it took a step backwards, to be quite honest. Okay, so we're getting ready to come up on our next VOR. Okay. At which time we will go ahead and start making our next turn, and then we'll dial in put our 113.8 in. And then we're going to be getting ready to come into Detroit very shortly. This is a nice thing about doing a VOR flight. No radio chatter. Oh, love it. You know, if it was a little bit more cloudy and they still would have let me take off without filing an IFR, you know, if I got to some cloud sections, I would ask for a flight following. But didn't really see the need to do that. So what we're going to do, go ahead and change our heading here, and put our comm stack. Change this to 113.8, and that should be, yep, should be good. We can change this. Back to there. And we're going to want to go at about, it's not going to be that big of a change, 261, so I'm kind of close to this anyways. We've got another long trek to go. You can see we're right over Lake Erie. Okay, some clouds there. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Sun coming off the water like that. Just taking time and taking the scenery. You haven't done that on this flight yet. The sun right up there. Okay. I don't imagine. Back over your sky vector, we can close that tab. But that's kind of a big thing that you know, the gamer backlash has been so great that they're like, we need to, you know, fix this. So actually, no, it's 271 is where I want to come off on next to there. So because this is the last one we're going into, yeah, the 113. So 271 will get us heading towards the airport. So just, oops, wrong one. That's okay. So we're going to go just a little bit, like almost directly west. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what it's going to look like. And how they're going to plan to fix this microtransaction disaster that they've created. So, but again, like everything, we will see. Time will tell. Time will tell. But apparently, I mean, when I was looking at that article, it looks like it was, it involved Disney as well. You know, when I'm looking at this. Yeah. The CEOs of EA and Disney reportedly spoke on the phone today about Battlefront 2. So, oh, that's scary right there. This right here. So, you gotta read the language. It's temporarily. Microtransactions and loot boxes are not going away. They're already accepted, he said. All that's happening is EA is tweaking the system to make it fun and addictive. That right there. If that doesn't scream gambling, I don't know what does. Because loot boxes, okay, right over here. This is all about chance. And when you put addictive with chance, you have gambling. And, you know, this is the slick PR that they're trying to put in right here. Is in that wording. We want it fun and addictive. Because if it's addictive, then you'll continue to play and pay. So, that right there tells me no. Do not buy this game. Do not spend a dime on this game. Because that wordage, that mentality, that needs to go away. Okay? You cannot have that in a game like this. And I know that some of the countries like Belgium and stuff are looking into whether or not this is classified as gambling or not. Yeah, when I look at how that's worded, that's exactly what gambling is. It's implementing games of chance so as to trigger an addiction so that you spend more money. That's your gambling right there. And you're doing this to a market of young people who don't know any better. That to me is wrong, and it will ultimately result still as this in the end. They are still preying on the average gamer not bothering to think about what they're spending. You do this, you see this happen a lot. You lose track of what you're spending on stuff unless you're really, really good with budget. And I've done this before. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go to Dunkin' Donuts and get a coffee here, thing here, thing here, thing. And then you realize, oh my goodness, I spent this much money on like coffee and donuts or whatever. Because it doesn't seem like that much because it's $2 here, $3 there. But in a month's time, you look back at what you spent and you're like, holy cow, that was kind of unnecessary, because you don't see the harm in the small transaction. Now you multiply that over a year per player at what they're hoping is millions of copies sold. There's where you're getting your hundreds of millions of dollars in microtransactions. That's how it works. Even, yeah, you got your whales and stuff. Yeah, they exist. Okay? But it's even the average gamer. If they really ever sit down and take a look at what they're spending on microtransactions, they're going, they'd be shocked. Again, $1 or $2 here or there doesn't seem like a big deal. It adds up over time. It does. It does. So, be wary of that. All right, we're going to look and see. I'm just curious. So we're looking for KDTW. And, yeah, not on the list. So we've got a little bit of a ways to go. So you know what? Because I can, I'm going to go ahead and speed this up just a little bit. So we can get into our landing component. In fact, I'm probably going to speed it up even more so. So this will take us like a minute to get to the VOR. But, oops. And again, advantage here, not having to stop to tell me to switch channels to a different, ATC or whatever. So, a little over, a couple of seconds to go a nautical mile. So, in my book, totally worth it. Yeah, I know planes jumping around crazy. Obviously, it would not do that, but let's get through this video here. Look at that. Shave time right off. Because I'm pretty much done with my EA rant right now, so I just want to finish this video and get us into Detroit. I'm going to slow it down at about Now, it'll take us a minute so they'll reload up all of the. There we go. Okay. So, now let's see if we're on our nearest airport list. Ooh, way more came up. So, KDTW is what we're looking for. And there it is.
Detroit Metro Tower, Beach Kilo Juliet 7881 is 26 miles east with Foxtrot to land. Beach Kilo Juliet 7881, Detroit Metro Tower, big right downwind, runway 3 flight, altimeter 2992. Enter right traffic, runway 3 right, Beach 881.
Okay, alright. Oops, so we're going to our heading. Okay. So, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to slow down. We're going to drop our altitude. And I am going to actually pause this so we can pull up the airport diagram here. So they said 3R. So right here. Okay. So we're going to come in, make right, down lake. So we're going to come in like that and land. So the next question is, let's see, runway 3R. Yep, they do have, it does have a runway ILS. Okay, good. So, okay, so we're getting ready to make our way into this. And there we go. Runway 3R is 111.5. And it's this runway right here. Put my GPS so we can start seeing some things here. Oops. So we're going to come here so we can turn a little bit to our left. Because we're going to come in right through here. Those turned on. there's our runway right here. Maybe you can see it, I don't know. There's the airport right there. To our starboard. Whoa. A little turbulence there. Oh boy. Send a little bit more, go down to 3,500. We'll probably come up to about here, and then we'll make our right turn in, and then our final right turn, and then we'll pick up the localizer, which it looks like we have, and we'll have that help guide us in, and hopefully we'll make a nice smooth landing right into Detroit. Okay, I see some, looks like almost like nuclear power plants up ahead. See another radio tower as well, so I want to make sure that we'll stay at 3,500 before we sort of above those. Yep, see, there's looks like power plants right here. Okay, and of course there's the airport right over here. The 80. That's 20,000 feet, so right there. Everything else looks fine. I don't see any other aircraft, so maybe we won't have an issue. Speed back up a little bit. Just watch our airspeed here. It's dropping. Turn. And then we'll drop ourselves down to about 2,800. There's a Skyhawk there. holding at 5,500, so I don't know what their intentions are. There's a little island right there. They're pretty cool. Oh, that's not an island, is it? No, just a little kind of inlet there, but looks cool. Okay, good. So we're below the glide slope.
Detroit Metro Tower, world travel 4609er, ready to go, runway 4, right, IFR to Guadalajara. World travel 4609er, cleared for takeoff, runway 4, right. Cleared for takeoff, runway 4, right, world travel 4609er.
And there's an Airbus coming in. Have to watch that. Yep, he's coming in to land. World travel 4609er, contact Detroit departure on 126.85. Going at 126.85, world travel 4609er. And here's hoping that we get clearance to land. Picked up the localizer, that's good. Maybe he's going to land on another runway, that would be nice. Well, what are the chances of that? And there it is.
718 is 9 miles southwest, inbound ILS, runway 3 right, approach. World travel 718, Detroit Metro Tower, fly straight in, runway 3 right, altimeter 2992. Fly straight in, runway 3 right, world travel 718. Detroit Metro Tower, world travel Diner 743, ready for IFR departure, runway 4 right. World travel Diner 743, cleared for takeoff, runway 4 right. Cleared for takeoff, runway 4 right, world travel Diner 743.
That's the right way to do the missed approach, but I don't feel this has already been a long enough flight. I don't feel like dealing with.
World travel 718.
They're just going to do a little 180.
Cleared to land, runway 3 right, world travel 718.
There's another aircraft coming in. That's just ducky.
World travel Diner 743, contact Detroit departure on 126.85. Going to 126.85, world travel Diner 743.
Alright, I'm going to get in behind this Boeing.
World travel 718, exit runway when able. Detroit Metro Tower, Pacifica 7503, is 9 miles southwest, inbound ILS, runway 3 right, approach. Pacifica 7503, Detroit Metro Tower, speak straight in, runway 3 right, altimeter 2992. Pacifica 7503, cleared to land, runway 3 right, follow Airbus A321 on the runway. World travel 718, exit runway when able. Cleared to land, runway 3 right, Pacifica 7503. World travel 718, contact ground on 119.25. 119.25, world travel 718.
So we're going to try and follow this Boeing. Okay, so we should be far enough out now. Let's see if this actually lets us land this time.
Detroit Metro Tower, Piper, November 86041, ready at runway 3 right, departure to the Piper, November 86041, hold short, runway 3 right, traffic is Boeing 737 on final. Hold short, runway 3 right, Piper 041.
Maybe they'll let us land before they let that other aircraft take off. What are the chances of that?
Pacifica 7503, exit runway when able.
Detroit Metro Tower, Piper, November 3677710 miles Southwest Hotel, land.
Piper, November 36777, Detroit Metro Tower, make straight in, runway 3 flight, altimeter 2992.
Oh my gosh, no.
Fly straight in, runway 3 right, Piper 777.
Pacifica 7503, turn next taxiway. Pacifica 7503, contact ground on 119.25. Piper, November 86041, cleared for takeoff, runway 3 right. Caution the Boeing 737 taking off, runway 3 left west departure approved. Cleared for takeoff, runway 3 right, Piper 041. 119.25 for Pacifica 7503. Beach 881, cleared to land, runway 3 right. Cleared to land, runway 3 right, Beach 881.
Alright, finally.
Detroit Metro Tower, orbit 8808 at runway 4 right, ready for takeoff. IFR at Bradley. Orbit 8808, cleared for takeoff, runway 4 right. Caution the Boeing 737 taking off, runway 3 left. Piper 777, cleared to land, runway 3 right. Follow the aircraft on final.
Cleared to land, runway 3 right, Piper 777.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 4 right, orbit 8808.
Right. Not gonna be my best landing. All right. Well, we made it.
Fort 1, you are leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved. Beach 881, turn next taxiway.
Okay, so that was a long flight, but let's take a look at that one. Yeah, the auto throttle was giving, or the throttle was just giving me some issues there. So, I mean, we made it safe and sound, but you know, that's just part of it. You know, again, definitely not my best landing. I was it seemed like I was dropping too fast, which is why I cut the autopilot there, which then there was a little bit of turbulence that I was experiencing. So, you know, that was part of it. You know, you can see there's a little bit of wobble there, although it wasn't too bad, all things considered, considering I haven't flown in a while. So I will take that landing. So hopefully you enjoyed the flight. Again, I hope that you're going to speak with your wallets if you're a Star Wars fan and just not buy the game and wait and see what happens, because that's the only way that we're going to get this message across, that we're not going to take this in our AAA priced games. And if you're getting in on the forums and stuff, listen, be respectful, okay? Again, your actions speak louder than words. If you don't buy the game and they don't get the sales performance, that's going to send a clearer message than you being rude, mean, nasty to DICE, EA. It doesn't matter. You can disagree with the business model, but let's kind of change. Let's take the high road as the gamers, okay? And hopefully, I'm very anxious to see what's going to happen with this, and maybe this time we as the gamers can get it right and say, nope, we're not buying this game, and it's going to force a massive change on EA's part. So we'll see. But hope you enjoyed the flight, and I'll see you again next time. Until then, this is your captain signing off.